According to experts familiar with his work, Edgar Cayce, also known as the Sleeping Prophet, was well known for his ability to cure illnesses and surprisingly accurate predictions of the future. His beliefs, which were seen as revolutionary, brought a fresh perspective to the history of religion and sparked much interest in the accuracy of his revelations. Let's take a look at Edgar Cayce's latest astounding revelation about Jesus, which has sparked interest from people around the world. It is important to analyze Edgar Cayce's early life before we learn about his shocking revelation about Jesus. On a March day in 1877, Leslie Burr Cayce and Carrie Elizabeth Major, who were farmers by profession, welcomed Edgar into the world. The 6 lively children in the Cayce household were a constant source of activity. Edgar claims that when he was a young child, he saw the ghost of his grandfather strolling through their property. Edgar was convinced of the ghost's existence, unlike other children who may have been afraid or dismissive. He saw the phantom become translucent when he focused his attention on it. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this video. This will help us provide more engaging material. Now get to it. Edgar, who is 10 years old, is fascinated by the mysteries contained in the Bible, which he meticulously reads 12 times in 2 years, and is no longer attracted to his family's agricultural work. One day, in seclusion in an improvised hut in the desert, he meets a winged woman who seems to have been taken straight out of a fairy tale. She has come to answer his prayers and find out what he wants, not to scare him. Edgar says he really wants to help people, especially children, despite his nervousness. The next night, the unusual event takes an interesting turn. Edgar receives more guidance from his heavenly visitor after a demanding day with a strict instructor and a difficult spelling contest with his father. She promises that knowledge will penetrate his dreams and tells him to go to sleep with his books open. Edgar takes her advice, eager to succeed. In the morning, he is able to recite any passage from the books, which amazes his teacher and his doubting father. Edgar quickly becomes the top student in 1892 thanks to his newfound ability to learn in his sleep. However, this is just the beginning. Edgar's strange behavior after a severe blow he received during a school battle reveals another unique talent. One night while sleeping, he made a diagnosis of his own illness and created an effective cure. Although this special talent disappeared after a few years, it signaled the beginning of a life filled with enigmatic events related to Edgar Cayce. His early years in Kentucky, from 1893 to 1912, unfolded like chapters of a mystery novel set against the backdrop of a charming American town. They were full of strange occurrences, profound challenges, and constant, in-depth conversations with the spiritual world. Edgar Cayce and his family moved to Hopkinsville, Kentucky, in the winter of 1893. This was a crucial time for the development of Edgar Cayce's parapsychic talents. Edgar, who at the time had only an education typical of working-class youth in rural areas, left life on the farm to seek new opportunities and a deeper understanding of his extraordinary gifts. Edgar became a member of the Disciples of Christ religious community after his engagement to Gertrude Evans in March 1897. He actively participated in church activities and read the Bible every year. In this environment, he was able to successfully combine his supernatural skills with his fervent faith. Surprisingly, in the final stages of his life, he revealed a long-standing lie about Jesus that shocked many people. Throughout his varied career, which included missionary work and teaching at a Dominican school, he struggled to reconcile the blessings and burdens of his prophetic abilities. Edgar and his father entered the insurance business at the turn of the century. However, in 1900, a terrible case of laryngitis destroyed his vocal cords and his professional opportunities. Edgar, no longer able to speak, turned to photography in search of something less verbally demanding. In 1901, Edgar was given a unique opportunity when Hart, the Laughing Man, a theatrical hypnotist, suggested using hypnosis to treat Edgar's voice loss. Edgar's voice reappears during the trance, but disappears again upon awakening. Edgar is not completely cured, even though Lane, a local hypnotist, does his best. However, he manages to improve the blood circulation in Edgar's throat. Both Edgar's health and his mental readings return to some degree. His extraordinary talent for accurately deciphering even the most rudimentary letters has become well known and sparked intrigue. Inspired by Al Lane, Edgar began providing his diagnostic services to the general public for free, even though he was aware of the possible consequences of his unconventional approach. Edgar took a job at a bookstore in Bowling Green in 1902 and began meeting young professionals, including doctors. In addition to offering him companionship, the association sparked much discussion about the reliability and safety of his psychic readings. Edgar struggled in his personal life, even as he kept quiet about his powers. In 1903, he married Gertrude. Twice he experienced the loss of his second child and the fire of his photography studio. In the face of these obstacles, Edgar's will to succeed grew stronger. Edgar Cayce's relationship with hypnotist Al Lane turned into a short-lived alliance with a homeopathic doctor. Edgar quickly came to the conclusion that using his skills for profit went against his moral principles, and the partnership fell apart. After a quarrel with one of his associates over financial mismanagement in 1912, Edgar returned to his photographic roots in Selma, Alabama, temporarily halting his psychic efforts. Edgar Cayce's life in Selma took an adventurous turn between 1912 and 1923, and the public began to take notice of his unique abilities, which were mixed with doubts and adoration. At this point, Edgar Cayce continued his trance readings, using a method he developed over time. At first he was assisted by hypnotists, but eventually his wife and eldest son took over this responsibility. His secretary, Gladys Davis, was responsible for recording his often thought-provoking and disturbing readings. Edgar's life changed from a quiet, peaceful place to a busy workplace. What began as a side project quickly turned into his main job. Edgar begins accepting donations to help support his family, but approaches the decision with equal parts reluctance and urgency. Business tycoons, gamblers, and treasure hunters are among the many crowds drawn to him by his growing fame and willingness to use his parapsychic abilities. Edgar turns down an offer from a cotton merchant who wants to pay him $100 a day for his market forecasting skills because he feels uncomfortable abusing his gifts and is loyal to his morals. As his requests increase, from finding lost treasure to predicting horse races, Edgar finds himself in increasingly difficult moral situations. His internal struggle with the moral elements of his power becomes more intense with each request. Let's go straight to the point of interest, which is Edgar Cayce's revelations about Jesus. The event takes place in Virginia Beach during the critical years of 1923-1945. Edgar's profound spiritual insights reached new heights at this point, often confounding and delighting audiences in equal measure. Do you find the information we provide useful? To help us financially, consider using the Super Thanks option. Like our page and subscribe to our channel. Your help is crucial to the publication of these inspiring stories. His serious research into the metaphysics of Christianity began after he moved to Dayton, Ohio in 1923. A significant turning point came when Edgar was encouraged to explore issues outside the mainstream by Arthur Lambs, a wealthy printer with a deep interest in metaphysics. Edgar was deeply committed to Christian beliefs, which are generally at odds with philosophical and esoteric topics such as reincarnation and past incarnations, which Edgar read about under Arthur's tutelage. Despite his dedication, Edgar struggles to reconcile these revelations with his conscious ideas and therefore has doubts about the accuracy of his trance-induced comments. He often asks himself, "Did I really say all that?" Arthur reassures him, however, that the revelations from Edgar's seances are in line with the basic beliefs of all major world religions. When the Cayce family moved to Virginia Beach in 1925, Edgar's career entered a crucial period defined by the creation of lasting organizations. The first hospital stones were laid with the financial help of Morton Blumenthal, a New York stockbroker inspired by Edgar's ideas. Later, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, ARE, was founded. The purpose of this organization is to disseminate Edgar's inspirational work. Edgar reinforces the mystical aspects of his readings in Virginia Beach, focusing especially on the teachings and life of Jesus Christ. Particularly revolutionary were the conversations people had during this period. Let's now analyze Edgar's insights about Jesus and examine the long-standing deception discussed. The author of Edgar Cayce's Story of Jesus is Jeffrey First, a writer who has spent much of his career documenting Edgar's extensive body of work. The book is more than just a collection of Edgar Cayce's readings. It is a window into the core of Edgar's spiritual insights about one of the most revered people in history, Jesus Christ. Editor and writer Jeffrey First has meticulously collected nearly 2,500 of Edgar's readings, mostly on Jesus. The readings span the years 1920-1940, which are full of Edgar Allan Poe's predictions and observations on history, health, and spirituality. The book offers a fascinating examination of difficult topics that goes beyond the superficial point of view, making it understandable to scholars and casual readers alike. Readers are guided through Edgar Cayce's unique viewpoints on spiritual matters, including his controversial stance on reincarnation in his book, The Story of Jesus. This viewpoint challenges traditional Christian beliefs by presenting a more comprehensive, interrelated theory of existence that includes past and future incarnations. Let's now discuss the most astonishing revelation in Edgar Cayce's revelations about Jesus, which is sure to amaze everyone. Edgar Cayce proposed that Jesus' existence consisted of many incarnations, each of which formed a soul that was ultimately recognized as Jesus Christ and did not begin with his birth in Bethlehem. Consider the possibility that Jesus was once Adam, the biblical patriarch. According to Edgar, Adam was not only the one who succumbed to temptation, but also the first human being to experience consciousness and set out on a spiritual quest for enlightenment. According to this perspective, the Spirit of Jesus underwent a series of incarnations to gradually prepare for his ultimate role in human history. A deeper understanding of human redemption, the task that would ultimately be performed by Jesus, was triggered by Adam's transgression in Eden. After Adam, the soul took the form of Enoch, who is well known to have had a very strong relationship with God and was able to ascend to heaven while he was still alive. Edgar claimed that Enoch's journey marked a great advance in spirituality and prepared the ground for the profound lessons that Jesus was later to impart. Next, we meet the mysterious biblical figure Melchizedek. He appears fleetingly in the Abraham story, bestowing blessings, then inexplicably disappears from the pages of history, leaving behind descriptions depicting him as an ancestorless priest for all eternity. Edgar saw Melchizedek as a prototype of Jesus' eternal priesthood, representing the ancient and profound understanding that Jesus would ultimately represent. The soul travels through the ages of the Bible and reincarnates as Jacob's favorite son, Joseph. For Edgar, Joseph's life, which began in slavery and led to his advancement in Egypt, was a lesson in fortitude and forgiveness, qualities that would play a significant role in Jesus' teachings. Joseph learns about grace and atonement from every hardship and betrayal he experiences. Joshua, Moses' successor, is the one who led the Israelites to the Promised Land. Joseph's life, according to Edgar, consisted of developing the courage and faith required for a much more important role, training the soul for its ultimate destiny of securing the spiritual redemption of mankind. In Jesus Christ, these different experiences ultimately come together. Edgar believed that Jesus was the fullest manifestation of the soul, which developed over millennia, gaining insight and deep spiritual understanding. His mission was immense. He gave his life to save others, revealed the path to salvation, and taught unconditional love. Edgar says that in order for the soul to gain the depth and empathy required for such a holy work, it must travel through these various incarnations. The introduction of the Essenes is a detail that calls into question conventional wisdom about Jesus' upbringing. Renowned medium Edgar Cayce shockingly declared that Jesus was more than just the son of a carpenter who emerged from the shadows. On the other hand, he was a member of a close-knit group of Essenes. Between the 2nd and 1st centuries AD, this sect of pious Jews was well known for its strict lifestyle, which was characterized by strict self-control and refraining from self-indulgence. It was a dull group, but very committed to its spiritual life. The best-known modern connection of the Essenes is probably the Dead Sea Scrolls. Edgar's theories propose a dramatic reassessment of Jesus' early years, arguing that the Essenes' doctrines and practices had a significant impact on Jesus' profound teachings and way of life. The Dead Sea Scrolls, which were found in the Qumran caves near the Dead Sea, revealed much about the way of life and beliefs of the Essenes. This ascetic community strictly followed the Mosaic rules and shared everything, including daily meals and chores. Their ultimate goal was to get closer to God by living a pure life. Edgar Cayce put a thought-provoking spin on the conventional narrative of Jesus' upbringing. He said that Jesus was not raised by Mary and Joseph in a humble carpenter's house. On the contrary, he was raised by the Essenes, who were considered the spiritual elite of the time. Consider the young Jesus subjected to the heavy spiritual regime of the Essenes, which resembles a tough spiritual training camp. Studying the Bible and prophecies related to the Messiah was part of this regime, but it wasn't just academic study. Maintaining purity was key. Jesus most likely fasted, took regular ceremonial baths, and observed other rituals to maintain both physical and spiritual purity. The Essenes shared everything and lived in community, providing a favorable atmosphere for those whose teachings focused on love and service. Edgar Cayce's narrative goes beyond Bible study and living in community. Moreover, he closed a significant gap in the biblical story of Jesus' life, putting forward the idea that the era known as the lost years was spent traveling and doing extensive research. According to Cayce, Jesus left Nazareth and traveled to Egypt, Persia, and India, where he absorbed knowledge like a divine sponge. Beginning in India, Jesus traveled extensively during these lost years. Edgar Cayce suggests that Jesus studied under Hindu and Buddhist masters there for a considerable amount of time. During this crucial period, Jesus carefully studied the ideas of karma, dharma, reincarnation, and spiritual disciplines such as yoga and meditation. These teachings deepened his understanding of divinity and human existence, which also influenced the main themes of his later teachings, which included the pursuit of enlightenment and inner transformation. Jesus then traveled to Persia, which is now Iran, where he met the priests of the Zoroastrian religion. This ancient monotheistic faith placed a strong emphasis on the duality of good and evil, the importance of free will, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. Jesus' views on morality, free will, and the cosmic struggle between light and darkness were likely influenced by the mystical teachings and practices he encountered among the Zoroastrian priests, sometimes known as the Magi. Jesus travels to Egypt through the readings of Edgar, a land rich in spiritual traditions and ancient wisdom. Jesus studied sacred geometry, the essence of the soul, and rituals related to spiritual transformation and resurrection, especially in the temples of Heliopolis. These lessons, which had their roots in the Egyptian understanding of life and the afterlife, would have prepared him for his own death and resurrection and significantly influenced his beliefs about eternal life. Edgar Cayce's account of Jesus' travels and his synthesis of spiritual insights from these different cultures point to one overarching message that cuts across conventional theological lines. His teachings emphasize love, compassion, forgiveness, and the kingdom of God. They reflect a comprehensive understanding of spirituality and include elements of both Eastern and Western spiritual traditions. To add to his mystique, Edgar Cayce died on January 3, 1945. There are those who believe that he even predicted his own demise. His views on Jesus continue to provoke thought and inspire, demonstrating the lasting impact of his work. Cayce's distinctive views on Christ have remained captivating and engaging to scholars and the general public alike, demonstrating his lasting impact on the field of spiritual studies. What do you think of Edgar Cayce's broad and unusual view of Jesus? We encourage you to participate in the comments section. Become part of our community by subscribing to the channel. And if you'd like, consider sending us a small donation as a way of saying thank you. Watch other videos about Jesus and biblical mysteries on our channel. Stay tuned. We are grateful to you.